Yeah, and what happens is, as you were talking, I have on my website, thanks to you, Steve, copies of documents that you forward over to me, which show correspondence between your former attorney and Gordon B. Hinckley and other stuff. And I also have copies of that debriefing given to Schwarzkopf on my website. People can go look at it right now if they want. It's on www.reginaldangusargue.com, and it's under the bulk gold. That's all you have to do to go look at it, so you know for a fact that we are showing you actual documents. We're not basically pulling this out of the air. We are showing you the truth, people. It's time to wake up. It's time to stand up against these atrocities before it's too late. With that said, I want to quickly go on to what you sent me in regards to the Ambassador Huntsman when he went over to China, right? I noticed right off the bat you were talking about... just a moment, please. You were talking about the late leader of the Mormon Church, Hinckley, and you were also talking about pharmaceutical drugs, and you're also talking about how CIA money was being hidden by them, MI6 money being hidden by them. Could you explain a little bit about that stuff?
Well, the direct connection that John Huntsman Jr., who is the ambassador to the country of China, representing the United States. John Huntsman Jr., of course, was the governor of Utah at the time, and he was really looking about running for president in 2012, but President Obama appointed him as the ambassador for China because of his close connection to Salt Lake City banking, because his grandfather was Mormon apostle David B. Haight. Now, David B. Haight was the former mayor of Palo Alto, California. His wife is J. Willard Marriott of Marriott Hotels, his sister. And so here we have David B. Haight, mayor of Palo Alto, California, married to J. Willard Marriott's sister, and he gets on the board of directors of First Security Bank. In 1999, First Security Bank in Salt Lake was merging with Zions Bank Corporation. Basically, they would control 8 western states, including Washington. And I personally got involved, and my cousin Richard Valgartson and Joseph Stump of my company basically created a federal antitrust federal lawsuit against them in the federal courts in Salt Lake City in 1999. And we exposed the connection of David B. Haight with John Huntsman Jr., Huntsman Chemical, and all this banking connections that we basically have been discussing several times on your radio station. And so what we basically are concerned in today's message with you guys is that it's ongoing right now. These people can be asked by the press, they can be asked by the public, can you address your connection to David B. Haight? Can you address your questions, how are you connected to the people in Salt Lake City? Are you representing the people in the United States government in China? Are you representing those specific parties there in Salt Lake City for secret deals with the Chinese government? Because we know that the world is clamoring for China to basically come into the same competitiveness as all other nations are.
And also, you were talking about you were also talking about the defense minister of China stood up and outlined a plan on how they were going to take over Canada, United States, and Australia. And there's something you also mentioned in there that they were looking at wiping out up to 150 to 200 million Americans.
Well, the pathetic thing of this is the same minister in their country then recognizes the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as being able to hold church meetings all throughout China. And why are they saying this about destroying America, Canada, and doing it through economics, through elimination and whatever, and simultaneously saying, oh, the Mormon Church can come and hold churches all throughout China?
Well, I want to quickly, divert a little bit. I want to go back to Nazi Germany. And when I've done my research in the past, I've noticed that there's the Catholic Church went through the Holocaust, the Lutheran Church, the Jehovah's Witness, the Jewish people, the Gypsies, and so on. But at this time, my personal self, I have never come across anything that mentioned anywhere any member of the Latter-day Saints, a.k.a. Mormon Church, being sent to any concentration camp set up by the Germans or being killed off in one of the ovens. Could you comment a little bit about that, Steve?
Well, it's a fact that Ezra Taft Benson, he was directly involved in agriculture back in Washington, D.C. during World War II, and amazingly, after World War II, he is actually over in charge of the missions and the program over in Germany, and basically in the repatriation of this. And so it's amazing when people claim, oh, we're using the Articles of Faith, that we're going to obey the laws in Germany, we're going to obey the laws in other countries, and amazingly the leaders are basically doing secret deals because they have these people, and the Mormons are good people. I mean, I'm an actual Mormon. I'm an actual good Mormon. I love the Mormon Church. But the people are blindly told to obey their leaders, and little do they know that there's secret deals like you just described, that they're basically trying to use the Mormons as fronts as they do secret deals. And this has got to stop, and thank goodness we have the radio programs like you do to actually do this.
Yeah, and also at the same time, back and during World War II, so in other words, members of the LDS Church were blindly following Adolf Hitler and his atrocities he's carrying out all over Europe?
Yeah, because one of the Articles of Faith says that wherever you're living, that you will obey the laws of that land. And so, amazingly, how they, as Nazi soldiers, and they were Mormons, they were basically upholding the laws of that land, blindly obeying their leaders. And we all have talked about the research about who really funded Adolf Hitler, if not the Rothschilds and the wonderful banks that are involved in Britain and America and everywhere else, including Canada. So it's amazing that, full disclosure, thanks to the internet, that we're finding out the truth.
And I also wanted to quickly, talk about how, shortly after President Obama got elected, in January, he sends Hillary Clinton over to China, and then he makes a deal with the Chinese, basically stating that, okay, if you continue buying our treasury bills, then what will happen is that you can have power over eminent domain in the United States, and you can start repossessing certain houses. Before you comment there, Steve, right at the beginning of the show, when we were having all those problems, active sabotage, I call them, I was talking briefly about a lawyer that was on MSNBC News. I want the listening audience now to remember the $45.5 trillion and the fact what the lawyer was saying, that prior to actually everything after the early 80s, that if you take out buy your house, or if you take out a loan against your house to finance it for a mortgage, then there's no proof out there who actually owns the land. So with that in mind, just think that President Obama did this. So what's going to stop it from someone who bought their property and actually has it, they think they have it paid outright. Next thing you know, representatives of the Chinese government are stepping in and going up to people in the United States of America, in a sovereign nation, and knocking on their doors and going, oh, by the way, this now belongs to the people of China. What's your thoughts, Steve?
Well, we know that Chiang Kai-shek was a converted Christian. He was a Protestant, and here he is. Chiang Kai-shek is over the Russian, or over the Chinese during World War II against the Japanese and Germany. And he, as a Christian, was trying to Christianize basically China. And what he did is became a very good friend to my father, who was over the cryptics, the code talkers, the Navajos, and basically supplied to my father, Clyde Davis, the information of the secret organization called CHI in China that were basically martial arts. They were the opium runners of the British government and all like that for many, many years before World War II. And so they had a Qi temple. It goes back to 400 AD, and they have the same temple ceremonies as they do in the Mormon temples. And so here is a great combination now of the secret organizations that go through Mormon temple work that are connected right with a Qi temple, CHI temple there in China, and they have the same tokens and signs and all these these secrets where they basically swear allegiance to this. And this is the big concern I have about these secret handshakes, because here you have Bill Clinton, you have Obama, you have Bush Jr. and Dick Cheney and all these doing these openly secret handshakes and basically telling the Mormons, hey, all these people are welcome to this because, hey, we're one big brotherhood organization. So this is why Hillary Clinton is over there trying to bring in the Chinese through the Mormon Church because of these temple ceremonies.
And also, I wanted to quickly talk about, the Vatican Church and how money laundering was through that. How does this connect up to the Mormon Church? Because we only have a couple minutes left in our interview, Steve. I wanted to end it with that, basically, to tie that little string together at the same time. That way our listening audience can be really well informed today.
House of Holiness in Latin is in the Bible in the Old Testament. House of Holiness is what the Vatican used to declare that they, through Peter, is the Church of God. And in 1960, the Pope there in the Vatican gave that little plaque of Constantine to David O. McKay of the Mormon Church and said, we are conveying the authority to joint venture with you. Here we at the Vatican in Rome basically will joint venture with the Mormon Church in Salt Lake City because of what you guys are doing connected with this wonderful secret oath of secrecy. And so basically since 1960, the Catholic Church and the Mormon Church have been working financially with their bank, which is Bank of America. Bank of America was created in 1905, Bank of Italy in California. It became Bank of America in the 1920s, and they've been joint venturing since the 1960s with Zions First National Bank in Salt Lake City.
Well, the Bank of America was involved in the mortgage fraud in the way that what happened was they were starting to send out people to foreclose on houses that didn't even have mortgages on them, that people owned it outright. And at the same time, I remember someone basically saying recently that there was something like they put a moratorium on it, and now they started back up, and there's something like 102,000 foreclosures that they're going to be doing. We had a past guest on by the name of Paulino with his last name. And what happened was he was talking about how by the end of 2011, there's going to be over 14 million foreclosures in the United States, over 60 million Americans homeless. You know, people were laughing at him at that time. And now what happens is I'm looking at the situation right now, and I'm beginning to think that those numbers, if we do not smarten up, we as the people do not start grabbing control of our natural resources and start standing up and let our voice be heard and try to regain what is ours, take it from the elitist and put it back in the hands of the people, that those numbers will become a reality, a really creepy reality. And what happens is you also got to remember that Canada exports 75% of what we make here is exported to the United States of America. And Steve, I'm just going to let you close with some last comments if you like. Your website, contact information, or whatever information you want to share, because I know there's an election coming up in the United States in the beginning of November.
Well, my voice to your public audience is to totally support their own heart. Basically, remember that they can make a difference, and my ability to come and talk to you and give you the answers that you've been so wonderful to ask me about and allow me to give you the actual facts and knowledge is totally free for anybody. They can surely reach me through you, Reg, and so I highly recommend your listening audience to definitely go to your website and your information, or to whatever your radio station is, and you'll be very glad to give them how to contact me directly, and I'll be very glad to talk to anybody.
Well, thank you so much there, Steve. That was Stephen C. Davis, and thank you so much for coming on, Steve. This is COOP Radio 102.7 FM CFO.
Take care.